Hi, welcome to another video from TOGAtech. My name's Dave. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll know that I'm building a overhead panel for my PMDG flight simulator, the Boeing 737NGX. And at the moment I've only managed to produce one panel, build a designated macro keyboard for the overhead panel. So let's get on with the video and hopefully everything will become clear. Right, let's start. Right, to do this macro keyboard for the PMDG 737 for Flight Simulator X Steam Edition, we're going to need some software. First of all, we're going to need a piece of software that will differentiate between your standard keyboard and your additional keyboard, and the best piece of software around at the moment is called HIDMacros. I'll bring that up. This is it. You can get this from HIDMacros.eu. Just go down to downloads, and I'm going to download here version 2.3. We'll just let that download. That's downloaded, and now what we'll do is we'll unzip this file. So let's extract this. Extract this to a folder in my download files at the moment. Now this program, it needs to be run in administrator level, and it would also be best if it was put in your program files directory. So that's where I'm going to put this at the moment. So if we now go to my downloads folder, and there's the extracted file there. I'm going to open that folder. I'm going to copy all this software, all the files in here. Let's copy those. Then I'm going to go to my programs directory. I'm going to create a new folder. And just call this HIDMacros. Open that folder and paste those files into it. Now it's asking me, need administrator permission to run this, which is what I want to do. I want to do this for all current items. Continue. That's all of those in there. Now if we select the application, HIDMacros application, I'm going to go down to properties, go to compatibility, and I'm going to tick this to run this as administrator every time. Just click apply. OK. Right, so I'm going to open up this file, and then I'm going to talk to you about another piece of information you're going to need to download. So let's open this up first. We'll run that as administrator. Yes. And close these down now. Don't need those. Now the other piece of information you're going to need to do this scripting is here. You can get from this site here, aviation.allenville.com. these are your PMDG 737 NGX. These are the FSX event codes. So every switch or button on your PMDG 737 has a specific code that's logged in the FSX programming, and these are the event codes here. So here, like this one here, is the battery switch on the overhead panel, and the event code here is 69633. Now we're going to need these codes and also the correct description here, this EVT underscore OH underscore elect underscore battery, etc. We're going to need that specific description of each switch and the event code for each switch. But I'll show you how you do this in your scripting for your macros. Right, so let's go back to HIDMacros for now. Start. Right, so we've downloaded HIDMacros, we've installed HIDMacros running as administrator, and as you can see now we have keyboard 1, which is my master keyboard, and now we have keyboard 2, which is going to be my dedicated macro keyboard for FSX. Now Windows cannot differentiate between two keyboards. It just uses both keyboards as though they were the same. So if you press the A key on one and then press the A key on the second keyboard, it will still register them as the same key. Whereas using HIDMacros, it allows you to add multiple number of keyboards, and it can differentiate between the different keyboards. So keyboard 1 here is my main laptop keyboard. Keyboard 2 is going to be my macro keyboard. That's initial devices, so we've got that working there. The next thing we need to do is to define all our constant values. What I mean by our constant values is, if you look at the next link I've left in the description below, which is from this aviationallenville.com, these are your event numbers in FSX for all the individual switches in the PMDG cockpit. So for, say we take for instance this one here, this is our ground power switch. So if I just highlight that for you, that's our ground power switch. Now we need this description here. It must be precisely that description, and we also need the event code for that switch, which is that there, 69649. Now we need these, every one of these switches has to be defined as a constant in HIDMacros. So you can either just select the ones you want to use, or you can do them all. What I've done to make it easier is I've typed up all of this in a notepad. So if and I'll leave a link to this file as well so you can get to this file. So this is my notepad view of all of these commands here with their instructions on here. Now when you send this to the script file in HIDMacros, you have to do a few other things. Like, as you can see here, that is the description from that PMDG list for the ground power switch, and that is the event value 69649. But there's also, you can see there's additional amounts of text on there. There's that const value there, and there's the equals, the inverted commas, the hash, and another set of inverted commas. Now these are part of the scripting language for HIDMacros. All it's saying to it is, this is a constant value, so that's what the const is. This is the switch we're talking about, that's the description of it, the ground power switch, and that event value for that is equal to this ID value here, 69649. Now you have to do this. I'm gonna, if I copy that out of here, I found it easier to put them all into Notepad in this way, and then I can select the ones I want and just copy and paste them into the script and HIDMacros. I'll show you what I mean. So we've got this value up here now. This is our ground power switch. I'm going to copy that. Then I'm going to go to HIDMacros, and I'm going to go to the scripting tab, and I'm going to paste that line in again. So let's paste that in. That's our first constant value put in, and I'm going to compile that now. And that's compiled, no errors, that's fine. That's just one switch. There are two values you need that must be in here. These are the constant values for your left and right click mouse buttons. So if I can find them on my file here, these are mouse, here they are, mouse flag right single and mouse flag left single. You must have these values in your scripting for HIDMacros to know what function you're going to do, a left or right click on your mouse. So if we copy these, it's the constant value again, so const mouse flag left single, copy that all in, that line. Go back to there. I'm going to paste that in there, but I'm going to make some changes. See this here? I think, I don't know, my word processor's just messed up there. That, let's try that and compile that. Yep, that's fine. So I'll edit this file before I'll send out the final video, because where it says the ampersand and then amp and the colon, you don't need that. Take the amp and the colon, the semicolon out. You just need the ampersand in there. That must be my word processor. Right, so these are these two main constants you must have. Mouse flag right single, mouse flag left single. Must have them. And then the next lot of constants are for whatever switches you require. So if you want to do the whole overhead, or you want to do the APU, whatever, you're going to need the description of the switch and its event ID. Is that there? And it needs to be put in this format. Constant, the description of the switch, space, equals, space, speech marks, hash, the event ID, and then speech marks again to close. That for every switch. This is your basic one here. So now from here, we just do one switch at a time. So I've compiled these. We've got our constant value. We've got our left and right mouse constant value, and we've got the switch we're talking about, it's constant value. The next thing to do is to go to your macros tool tab. We're going to set up a new macro. We're going to define that new macro as ground power switch. So we can do that GRD PWR switch, ground power switch. Now we're going to scan our new keyboard as to which switch we want to designate to that. So we press the scan tab, we press the button that we want to use for our ground power switch, and there it is, it's come up keyboard 2, button 54. Then we want to go to our scripted tab, and here we want to write a script for that macro. Minimize. Okay, right, I've moved things over to my flight simulator now, so I've got the keyboard here. This is the macro keyboard that we're setting up. I've got my normal keyboard here, and as you see on the screen now we have HIDMacros opened up. So just to quick recap, in our devices tab, HIDMacros devices tab, you can see I've got several keyboards here because now I'm in the actual simulator. So these are my interface cards for my switch box. That's my joystick control, my HOTAS control. So we've got keyboard 1, which is my standard keyboard, which is this one. Keyboard 2, which is the macro keyboard, which is this one that we're setting up all the switches for. As you can see, it's all labelled up with all the different types of switches on the overhead and some view switches as well. I'll show you a little program that you can do online to produce these little stickers to go on your switches. Yeah, so that's your devices tab, and we've just been through the scripting tab. As I said, these are your constants that you need. You need to define constant values for certain actions. Here we've got the constants for left single click on the mouse, and this is the constants value for a right single click on the mouse. And so all of these values and exactly how you type this text I'll leave in a notepad document that you can download, so you can just copy and paste them straight into your own HIDMacros script. But just to give you an idea of what they are, so this is how you would type the constants value for a left single click on the mouse, that bit there, and then you've got the constants value for a right single click on the mouse, which is that one there. And then these are all the constants for each individual switch on your overhead. This one here where it says, let's highlight that for you, there. So this is how you type these constants value in. So it's const, C-O-N-S-T with a capital C, space, and then the description that you got from the PMDG download from aviation.allensville.com. So that description of that switch, so it's all in capitals, EVT underscore OH underscore ELEC, so ELEC underscore ground, GRD underscore power, PWR underscore switch, then a space, equals, space, your inverted commas, hash, a hashtag, and then the event number for the ground power switch, which again you get off of that PMDG list, 69649, and then inverted commas to close. Now you do that for every switch on the overhead using the specific description of that switch and the event command or the event number for that switch. Again, as I said, I'll leave a link to a notepad document with all of these typed out for you already, so you can just copy and paste if you like. Just wanted to give you an understanding of what they are. Now, for toggle switches, these are all pretty much straightforward. For other things, there are other commands you need to do for switch covers. Rotary switches or multi-position switches will need different actions as well. As you can see, there's a constant value there for the ground power switch guard, which is the cover over the top of the power switch. You need to identify that, and again that has a different type of script there. You can see there's an ampersand and a capital H for a hex number, and that's 647F. Now all of those are listed in that document, and I'll go on to a bit later to describe how to do those and multi-position switches. But just for now, we'll just stick to a standard toggle switch so you can see what's going on. So that's our ground power switch one there. and I've gone through and I've entered in all of these. Every time you enter one in, or you can type in a few of them, please ensure that you press the compile switch. If you don't press that compile button, nothing will be saved and you'll have to type it all again. Okay, so here if I scroll down, you can see I've entered all of the switches. It's even these that are not on the this is on the lighting panel, so that's your engine start lever switch, and you just enter in the constant values for all of these APU switches, all of the switches on that overhead. Some of the switches I've added that are on the where the thrust control levers are, the fuel cut-off valves, etc. I've added all of those on here. So you just go through, type them all in, and as I say, I'll leave them in a document, a note document, so you can cut and paste, save you a bit of work there as well. Okay, so that's the scripting tab. So we've done the devices tab, which tells you which keyboards you got connected, and there's the scripting tab for all our constant values. Right, the next thing you have to do is start describing the macros, or actually entering the macros. So we go to our macros tab here. You can see I've done some already. Let's take, say, do a simple one here, the APU bleed switch. Okay, actually I'll take a standard toggle, because the APU bleed, I believe, might have 2 positions on it. So we take a standard toggle switch. So okay, right, I'm going to start from the beginning here and just show you one. Let's do one for the just for a standard switch here we're going to do. So because I've got some already in here, I wanted to do something a bit different so I could show it to you. But we'll do for the ground power switch. Right, ground power. So on our macros tab, we're going to start a new one. So we click new. We're going to name that new macro. So this is going to be called ground power switch. GRD power switch. Okay, that's what we're calling our macro. Then we click the scan. Now this is where you go over to your macro keyboard and you press the key you want to use for that function. So here I've got here ground power, so I'm going to press that. It's telling me here, it's come up that it's already in use. That's because I've already set these up already. So the key is already in use for PMDG 737 ground power switch, but I'm going to ignore this, and we're going to carry on using it. Okay, because there it is there. But I'll just call this one ground power switch. We press the scan, press the key you want to use. Now we go down to this section here. It says scripted. So we press scripted on that scripted tab, and we need to type in a line of script to activate that switch in Microsoft FSX, and this is what you type. It's HIDMacros FSX event space, and then the name of that switch, as I say, the precise description of that switch from the PMDG list. So that's EVT underscore OH underscore elec underscore GRD ground underscore PWR, that's power underscore switch. must be precisely typed this way, otherwise it won't recognise it. Then a comma, then a space. Now what we want it to do is we want it to go to that power switch on the overhead, and then we want to do a left mouse click to activate. So then we put in the other constant, which is mouse underscore flag underscore left single, because it's a left single button press on the mouse. Left single. That's it. That's the command for that, and we must remember to compile it. If you don't compile it, it won't remember it, and you'll have to do it all over again. So we go compile, and you get a green light here to say that there's no errors in that, and that's compiled that perfectly, and that's working. If we get FSX started up, we can even test it to see if it works. So let's see if I can get FSX started up in the background. Right, sorry, just check there. You've got to make sure Sim Connect is connected. Pause. There we go. So pressing the button here, that activates our ground power switch on our overhead. You just had to make sure that Sim Connect was connected up here on HIDMacros when you run it. So obviously start up HIDMacros, start up your FSX, and then make sure this is connected. But now, so we've typed in our ground power switch, we've selected a key for that for use by pressing the scan. So we've gone to keyboard 2, key 54, which is this one here. We've typed in the script of what we want it to do. So when we press that, we want it to send a command to FSX to say, go to this switch, our ground power switch, and do a left mouse click. And that's exactly what it's doing. So if I press that again, just watch this ground power switch here, and it's going on and off. And it's the same here. I've got other ones already programmed in. If we look at the chimes here, I've named the macro chimes, I've scanned the keyboard, it's gone to key 75, which here says chimes, and then I've typed in the script there, HIDMacros.FSX event EVT underscore OH underscore no smoking, underscore no underscore smoking underscore light underscore switch, comma, space, and then what I want, the action I want it to do, which is mouse flag left single. So a single left click when I want to operate that switch. So here's the chimes switch here. So if I press the chimes now, if you just keep an eye on that switch, if I press the chimes on my keyboard now, the chimes is operated. And it's the same with all the other ones I've got here already. APU bleed, fuel pump aft, forward, and you just work your way through creating a new macro, name the button you want to operate it to, scan your keyboard, then type in the script for that switch. And all the script is, as I say, it's nothing complicated. The script is just this. You can copy them from the notepad document that I'm going to leave down below. it's got HIDMacros.FSX event, the name of that toggle switch, which you find from your PMDG list. That is the name of that switch, and then the action you want it to take. So this is a single left mouse click, so it's mouse flag left single, and that's pretty much the same for all toggle switches. They're all pretty much straightforward there. So if we go to your damper, here we can see here there's the name of the macro, your damper. I've scanned the keyboard, I've put the your damper on this key here on my macros keyboard, which is key 51 on keyboard 2. I've typed in the script and compiled it for the your damper. So again, it's EVT-OH your damper, comma, and I want a left single click on the mouse. And if we test that again, here's the your damper switch up here. So I press your damper. There's the your damper switch activated. If I press it again, it will go off. So it's single press for on, single press for off, and it only requires one line of script on that. Now, rotary switches and switches with guard covers are a little more complicated, but for the basic switches, that is all you have to do. Okay, we're going to try and do now a rotary switch. So I'm going to go with the, let's get a view up here of the aft overhead. Right, aft overhead. Yeah, what we're going to try and do is the IRS controls, and now they have to go through two positions. So it has to go to align and then to nav. So rotary switches two positions. If you can see here in our scriptings tab, these are the constant values for those, EVT_IRU_MSU_left, and the event number for each one of those. So right, what we're going to do now, we're going to try and create a macro for those. What we need to do again, in your scripting, you need to make sure that you've got your constant values set. These are for the IRU, or this IRS left and right. So it's just const space EVT IRU_MSU_left equals, and this is the event code. Again, you get all this information from the PMDG event codes list, which I'll leave a link to in the description below. And that's the right hand control knob there. That's set in your scripting file. So now we go to macros. We're going to do a new macro, and we're going to call this macro, this is going to be our IRS, and this is going to be the right one because I've already done the left. Right. Scan our keyboard again. I'm going to press IRS right on my keyboard here. It's keyboard 2, key press 113. Then go to this scripted tab under the action box. And this is where we need to write our scripting for this. Now, we need to define a few things. So the first thing we need to do, we're going to set a value of L1. And we're going to space equals space, and now this is going to be HIDMacros dot get FSUIPC int. Now what that is that is getting the current value from FSUIPC. So it's seeing where the position of the switch is at the moment. It gets the value of where that position is at the moment. Now this is for the, again we open brackets, and we tell it what switch we're looking for the value. It's the IRS underscore mode selector. Now this information will be in another file that comes with FSUIPC. It gives you how many byte values there are to each switch position. I'll leave a link in the description below as to where you get this information from. So now this mode selector has 2 bytes, so it's IRS mode selector common space and then 2, and then we'll close the brackets. Okay, that's the first line of our scripting. Then we're going to come down and tell it what we want it to do. So first it's going to find the information of where the position of the switch is at the moment from your flight simulator, and now we're going to tell it what it needs to do once it's got this value. So we type if space round open brackets L1. So it's taking that L1 value, and we're now saying to it, if that L1 value equals 0, and now we're going to tell it what to do. Then come down a line, 2 spaces. Now we're going to tell it what action to take. So we're going to do a single right click on the mouse. HIDMacros .FSX event, and then the event again you get from that events list, which is EVT underscore IRU underscore MSU underscore, now this is the right hand control, so it's right, then a comma, and then space, and then the action you want it to take, which is mouse underscore flag underscore, and we need to do a right click, right single. Now because I want this to go straight to, I don't want it to go to a line and then nav, I just want it to go straight to nav, what I'm going to do is repeat that command. So we go on here, I'm going to copy that, come on, I'm going to copy that, Control C, go back down here, and I'm going to paste that, Control V. So what I'm telling it to do is check what position the switch is in first, and then if it's equal to 0, which is in the off position, I'm going to tell it to click the mouse once to the right and then twice to the right. So that should take me straight to the nav command. So if we compile that, right, the reason why it won't compile is it's expecting what to do if these conditions are not met. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come down a line, and the next thing we need to tell it to do what should it do if these conditions are not correct. So we do else, and then what I'm going to tell it to do, 2 spaces, is I'm going to tell it to do a left click, move the mouse to the left, do a left single click, HIDMacros .FSX event so it's the same event, EVT underscore IRU underscore MSU underscore right, comma, but now I want it to click the mouse on the other side, so it's mouse underscore flag underscore left single, because I want it to go the other way. Okay, and then we just need to end that routine with end space if. Let's compile that and then test it. So it's green light, so it's compiled right. Now if we have a look here at our aft overhead, we can test that out. So it's gone 2 positions to the right, it's gone straight to nav, which is where we want it, and then if we press it again, it'll go backwards, align and off. Now let's do that with the keypad over here. You can see the keypad there. Let's move my temporary desk out of the way. So we've got IRS right. So if I press that, it should go straight to nav. We just watch this bit here. Yep, straight to nav. If I press it again, you go to align and then to off. And I've already programmed, that's the left one. So we check the left one out, press it, straight to nav, back to align, back to off. Perfect. So these are the commands you use for rotary switches. Quite straightforward. So we've done single toggle switches and we've done rotary switches. The only other thing we've got to do next is some of the guards, the light guarding on here. Okay, I'm going to continue now and I'm going to program in my engine starter switches and the APU starter switch and the rest of all my light switches, and then I'll come back to you and just finalize everything and talk a little bit about the guarding. Okay. Right, here we are back then. What I've got going on here, so I've got HIDMacros open. I've got Microsoft Flight Simulator X open. I've done the sim connect, because you have to make sure when you open HIDMacros that you sim connect it to Microsoft Flight Simulator X. I've got here, as you can see in this window here, these are a list of all the macros that I've created. 2-panel view, aft overhead view, anti-collision lights and so on. Here I'll leave a downloadable text document here that explains what constant values you need and how to produce this, as well as a couple of choice examples for standard toggle switches, rotary switches, etc. I'll also leave a link to where you can download this whole XML file. So if you wanted to use this one or modify it, it's up to you, but I'll leave a link in the description below as to where you can download both of these files, the XML file for HIDMacros, the text document explaining how to create the macros, also links to where you can download HIDMacros from as well, and the values you need, the PMDG event code values, where you can get those from as well. Another thing that I noticed the other day that I didn't realise, that you can use predefined events in Microsoft Flight Simulator X, which you need the event codes if you're using the PMDG flight simulator for Boeing 737, because it has a lot more knobs and switches and interaction than the standard 737 that comes with Flight Simulator X. However, if you want to use some of the predefined options, you can still do that. If you can see here, like my aft overhead view, I open that up. That's the macro. All I did was created a new macro called aft overhead view and scanned the button I wanted to use for it, the key press. But instead of going to this scripted tab here, I've gone to the predefined tab, clicked on Send Sim Connect Event FSX, and then if you look down this list here, it's got all the predefined ones for the standard flight sim. Here you've got say zoom in, zoom out, you've got toggle alternators on and off and so on. So you can use these instead of using the PMDG events values and doing scripting. This is far simpler, but obviously there's a lot more controls in the PMDG version than there is in the standard Microsoft Flight Simulator X version. So that's why I've gone that. But that's a handy little function there of HIDMacros, which can save you a lot of typing. Okay, right, let's just show you some of this working. So if I can use the function on my keyboard here. If I bring up the forward overhead panel, there we go, I've had that programmed into that key there on the number pad, and this is the forward overhead here. Now I can operate all the functions that I've got here. Say we got window heats, you can see up here the window heats, left, right coming on. I can turn them off by pressing them again. We've got probe heats, these are the probe switches here. So we've got probe A, on, off, probe B, on, off. Engine anti-ice switches here, 1 and 2. Got wing anti-ice, and so on. We've got, so they're the standard sort of toggle switches you've got there. We've got engine start rotary switches, these are the engine start ones here. So if I go to, on my keyboard, I've got engine 1 start, press that, it goes to start. You've got light switches, you've got your retract switches, landing light switches, taxi lights, runway turn offs. All of these are functioning here. On the fuel panel we have, here we go, left and right centre tanks, fuel 1 forward, we've got fuel 1 aft, fuel 2 aft, fuel 2 forward. All the functions here. APU generators, we've got engine 1 gen, APU gen, engine APU 2, engine 2 gen. All the functions are programmed in here. There's no limit really, as long as you can get the event codes from that PMDG list, you can program into here. I can turn off the forward overhead. I've got lights panel, FMC, radio panel, CDU panel, fire panel, they're all working, 2D view, it's all good, spot view. You can use levers as well as switches, again just programmed here into levers. I've got engine 1 lever, there's the control code in there. So if I do engine 1 lever, if I do fuel cut off valve, 2, it's because the flight sim keeps pausing. There we go. Every time I go back to HIDMacros it pauses the flight simulator. See, that's working fine now. Same with that one. Okay, so there you are. I've got speed brakes programmed in as well. Flaps are in, so we've got flaps up, flaps down. Go speed brake, and speed brake armed, disarmed. Well, there you are. That's all that. As I say, I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can get this XML file and where you can download HIDMacros. I hope this has explained everything, but if you do have any questions, just leave me a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on TOGAtech.